Welcome to the Healthy Reasonings podcast with Dr. Andre. You are now listening to your number one source for clear, unfiltered conversations about your health and wellness. Join us every Tuesday for success stories, educational topics, and interviews with wellness experts from around the world. You can listen to this podcast on your computer, phone, or any other electronic device that streams podcasts, or download each episode and listen to it on the go. Let's get started with today's episode.
Yeah, it's another episode of the Healthy Reasonings podcast, and we're trying something a little bit different this time. I cannot believe this is even happening, but it is, because as you would have seen if you follow me on Instagram, I have been scrolling the internet, and it just so happens that I came across something super interesting. Some of you may remember in episode, let's see what episode that was. Was it episode 9? Let's jump in here. See which episode it was. Healthy Reasonings. Yeah. Episode 6. Episode 6 is when we spoke about the concept of iodine deficiency. And oh my goodness, little did I know. Let's see when episode 6 was published. The 23rd of July. We spoke about a few things when we spoke about iodine deficiency. We spoke about the fact that iodizing salt was a way that scientists thought would reduce the incidence of iodine deficiency expressed in the thyroid gland in the form of goiter. Fair enough. So they added iodine to the table salts because they wanted to find something that was widely being used in people's diets. And they thought that obviously by putting iodized salt into the average diet in developed countries and to a lesser extent developing countries, that they could reduce the amount of goiter that was resulting. And we spoke a little bit about the fact that, well, a few things. One, the amount of iodine added to salt is probably enough to prevent goiter, but it's not nearly enough to prevent iodine deficiency. And we spoke about the fact that iodine deficiency is expressed primarily in the organs of the thyroid, the breasts, especially in women, the ovaries, the uterus. And I sounded the alarm, I think, about how dangerous it was and the many expressions that it had in the form of polycystic ovarian syndrome or polycystic ovarian disease, depending on how you look at it. Popularly called PCOS, the impact on fibroids, the impact on fibrocystic disease of the breast, the impact on ovarian cysts in general, the ultimate impact in causing cancer of those specific organs. And yet, I'll be quite honest with you, when I was discussing this, in my mind I thought, Andre, you're just standing on a soapbox talking and making much ado about nothing. It's a big deal to me, but I wonder if it's a big deal to anybody else. Well. You would not believe what I found while scrolling the internet recently in an article none other than the Lancet itself, the Lancet Medical journal, a reasonably well-regarded journal, certainly when I was in medical school and in medical residency. I will admit that there have been a few flukes over the past few years, but that's not the point here. We are going to look at an article in a very special episode of the Healthy Reasonings podcast. Let's take a look. Well, looky here. The Lancet, Diabetes and Endocrinology, well-regarded medical journal worldwide across various institutions. And this article is dated, as I recall, September 2024. September 2024, and our episode was in July of 2024. And look at the title of this article. It says Iodine Deficiency in Europe. Vigilance and action required. Does it sound familiar to anybody? Yeah, it sounded like something that we were talking about as Healthy Reasoners just a few months ago in episode 6, and we're now at episode 19, I believe. So let's do what Healthy Reasoners do and jump into this article. Let's jump in. So it says a new report by the WHO/Europe and the Iodine Global Network, which I had no idea existed, has warned that mild iodine deficiency remains widespread in the WHO European region. Moreover, decreasing consumption of dairy products, very interesting, among adolescents and adults has the potential to exacerbate the situation. Milk is a key source of iodine. I will admit that I did not think along that line prior to now, which I guess is an indictment on me, but who cares? Especially in countries where salt is not routinely iodized. Remember we mentioned that earlier. So where iodine was not added to table salt in these countries, they found that milk was a more reliable source of iodine. Now, presumably this is because the cattle would eat the plants grown in the soil as iodine rich and then pass the iodine along into the milk, which, as we mentioned in humans, is the primary way that babies get their initial source of iodine through breastfeeding. So the authors of the new report wrote that progress toward optimizing iodine intake may be stalling or even declining in some countries, and this is in the Great Europe. They urged policymakers to take action before Europe sees a return of goiter and acquired thyroid disorders due to iodine deficiency that was once rife on the continent. All right, fair enough. The WHO European region stretches from the Atlantic Ocean to Central Asia. That's a large territory. It is made up of 53 member states plus Kosovo. Now, I'm not a great person at geography, still not quite able to pinpoint certain countries on maps, so bear with me. Luckily, we don't need to do that today. But look at this statement. Iodine intake among children of school age is adequate in 26 of the 27 states in the region that reported data on the issue. Youngsters drink a lot of milk. Okay. This is no surprise to us. We gave an example in episode 6 of 2 children, I believe, of school age, and we showed how the issue only really becomes apparent at about the age of puberty and beyond. It says, but the outlook is less encouraging for adults. In several countries, iodine intake among adults and pregnant women is suboptimal. Powerful statement. Because if pregnant women have suboptimal iodine intake, it obviously will lead to the children also having suboptimal iodine stores and the sequelae that we know will follow. The United Kingdom is overall defined as having sufficient iodine intake using median urinary iodine concentration, meaning the average amount of iodine passed out into the urine. However, there are case reports of goiter among Britons who maintain a non-dairy diet. Very interesting. So here's the executive director of the Iodine Global Network. I will not attempt to pronounce his or her name. And the person says, in countries where salt iodization is mandatory, that is where iodine is added to salt, iodine status in the general population tends to be fine. It is also fine in places where iodized salt is used for bread products, and we spoke about this. The problem is in countries where salt iodization is voluntary. And, the truth is, I'm not sure I 100% agree with this executive director. Because if all you're trying to do is to avoid goiter, that's one thing, but iodine deficiency spans a spectrum that is so much more than just goiter, but that's okay. Next paragraph. Maria Anderson is senior scientist at the University Children's Hospital Zurich, Switzerland, and co-author of the new report. She pointed out that salt iodization is widely acknowledged as one of the most successful public health interventions in history. And again, that's fair if you're really just trying to stop goiter. But let's talk about all the other manifestations of iodine deficiency that would not be stopped by that very low dose of iodine in table salt. But nonetheless, I won't argue with success. The aim was to reduce goiter, and that was successfully met. And they mentioned it was pioneered in Switzerland, a country that I have great respect for its work in medicine and its approach to oncology in particular. Moving right along. The Central European nation is mainly situated on land that was shorn of its iodine during the last ice age. By the early 1920s, iodine deficiency disorders were endemic and highly visible in Switzerland. I actually didn't know this. Nearly every school child in Bern, for example, had swelling on their neck. There were thousands of cases of congenital hypothyroidism in Switzerland and a high incidence of deafness. The rollout of iodized salt, which began in 1922, had an immediate effect. Rates of goiter plummeted. So again, I have no issues with this because the aim here was to reduce goiter. My concern is that goiter is really just the tip of the iceberg, no pun intended, when we're talking about iodine deficiency. Of course, as they implemented this, far fewer babies were born with deafness, and congenital hypothyroidism, formerly known as cretinism, disappeared entirely. This is Anderson speaking, and she says, governments in Western Europe are reluctant to introduce mandatory health interventions. And I happen to know that some of these so-called mandatory health interventions are going to become increasingly newsworthy over the months to follow. Recent development in the United States. So we rely heavily on cooperation by the food industry to implement a recommendation to use iodized over non-iodized salt. Fair enough. Milk is an important source of iodine, but milk iodine concentrations are typically not regulated and monitored. And I guess I'd have to believe this because I didn't even know that this was a thing. If iodine concentrations in animal fodder decrease, okay, there we go. So what they're saying is if the amount of iodine in the food that the cattle are eating decreases, we could see a sudden drop in iodine status in humans. The issue is further complicated, Anderson says, by the burgeoning or increasing popularity of alternatives to dairy products such as almond or oat milk, which are not usually fortified with iodine. Excellent point. It is especially important for pregnant women to maintain adequate iodine intake to ensure normal fetal development. And I think this is a good point to take a quick break, listen to our usual sponsor messages, and we'll be right back.
In a world that moves too fast, it's easy to lose touch with what truly matters, your well-being. At Teshuva Wellness, we believe in a return to balance, to healing, to your best self. Our holistic approaches nurture not just your body, but also your soul. Whether you're seeking peace, energy, or a deeper connection, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Our medical experts specialize in holistic treatments for chronic diseases, ranging from autoimmune illnesses to cancer. Our treatments are safe, non-toxic, and effective. Because at Teshuva Wellness, your journey to wellness is our greatest commitment. Visit our website today at teshuvawellnessja.com or call 1-876-787-8197. That's 1-876-787-8197. Teshuva Wellness. Return to health. Return to your best self.
And guess what I'm gonna say? Yes, that's it, and we're back. And so we're at this paragraph now. Not very many paragraphs here. This is a nice little episode. It says foods cooked or produced outside the home today account for 70 to 80% of salt intake among individuals following the Western diet, whatever that is. In the 24 nations of the WHO European region where salt iodization is not mandatory, there is no guarantee that these foods will contain iodine. Nice. The new report cited the example of Germany, where less than 10% of processed food products contain iodized salt. This is stirring up a whole lot of drama, not just in my mind, but I'm sure in the public health fraternity. So the obvious solution is to switch from non-iodized to iodized salt in processed food, and to fortify dairy product alternatives, I guess like almond milk and oat milk, with iodine. Interesting. But this could drive away health-conscious consumers who do not like to see chemical compounds listed in the ingredients for the food and beverages they buy. And as you can tell, I didn't read this article in detail before presenting it to you all, so you're getting my initial reactions more or less. I just found it and I said, we're going to do this. So the WHO Europe report suggests permitting producers to use the term iodized salt. So here's their challenge. I see their challenge here. They're saying healthy reasoners looking at a almond milk product, for example, or oat milk, hemp milk, and seeing additives, albeit iodized salt, which has been around forever, might be turned away. This is interesting. Let's see what Anderson says about this. And Anderson advises harmonizing the regulations on iodized salt across countries. Okay, so she wants everybody to play by the same rules. The food industry wants to see common rules, she said. Messaging on iodine deficiency has to be nuanced. So tell me about it, Dr. Anderson. Nuance, okay. We want to reduce overall salt consumption, but ensure that it is always iodized, said the other gentleman who is the executive director. Gentleman, assuming a gentleman. You only need to add a few micrograms of iodine to salt. All right, I hear you, sir. Or madam, I'm guessing sir. You only need to add a few micrograms of iodine to salt. So it is no big deal to tweak the amount of iodine if people are eating less salt. All right. Okay. He added that there's no evidence that people increase their salt consumption if they feel they are not getting enough iodine. Of course, we know this. So again, probably missing the point, because adding these few micrograms of iodine to salt, it solves goiter. Yeah, okay, so we've solved goiter, and that's the most visible, outwardly apparent evidence of iodine deficiency. And of course, in extreme iodine deficiency, as was mentioned earlier, you will have the issues with neonates, children born with severe issues with development and also with hearing. But there's a whole spectrum of iodine deficiency that's still being missed here. Anyway, final paragraph, super interesting. Anderson says, nonetheless, raising awareness is no small task. It is not just food producers and the general public who have limited knowledge about the importance of iodine. Well, hey, Anderson, healthy reasoners actually have a pretty good knowledge about the importance of iodine because they've listened to episode 6. And incidentally, if you've not, please go ahead and listen to it either right away and come back, or listen to it when we're done here. This statement right here has just made my whole day. There is lack of awareness among the medical community. Some older doctors, I wonder where I would fall. Older doctors. All right, fine. So some older doctors may be aware of iodine deficiency, though they think of it as a problem of the past. But younger physicians know very little. It is not part of the medical curriculum. So, I don't know, I'm just mischievous. I have to find out where I fall there. So some older doctors may be aware of iodine deficiency, which I am, though they think of it as a problem of the past, which I don't. So I guess I'm not an older doctor. But younger physicians know very little, which this is a challenge because I'd love to be associated with being a younger doctor. But I guess I just don't fall into any category. So I am neither an older doctor or a younger doctor. I am a healthy reasoner. How about that? So, and it's not a part of the medical curriculum. So this is no longer Dr. Andre shouting about something that's irrelevant. This is now the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology Journal, September 2024, speaking in detail about the problem that this is posing across Europe. And this is what did they say? 53 member states plus Kosovo, and 26 of the 27 states in the region that report the data. They think iodine intake is good for youngsters, children of school age. There's so many things here that I'd love to tease out though, because there's such a big jump. Am I missing something, or am I not reading the same article as everybody else? Look at this. Iodine intake among children of school age is adequate, but the outlook is less encouraging for adults. Yeah, but you've missed, oh dear, you have missed the whole point of iodine deficiency, which we established in episode 6. And the point is that it is precisely at the time of puberty that the issue becomes apparent, more so in females, because that's when breast development as well as menstruation starts and the demand for iodine skyrockets. So what we've done here is we've gotten data on children of school age. I don't know what that really means. Are they including children who are post-pubertal? In which case, I guess technically they're still children. But when you make that big jump over to adults, what you've done is you've missed the inflection point, which is where the issue actually starts. Anyway, the point is they've made a distinction between children and adults, which we knew would happen in iodine deficiency. And I would love to know, therefore, a couple of things. One, are they looking at other features or points on the spectrum of iodine deficiency, such as women with fibrocystic breast disease, or simply just breast tenderness, perimenstrual or tenderness or soreness of the breast around the time of the period? Are they looking at ovarian cysts in women? Are they looking at fibroids in women? Are they looking at the incidence of PCOS, polycystic ovarian disease, or ovarian syndrome in these women? Are they looking at endometriosis and other complications that are far downstream? And are they looking at cancer in any of these organs, including the thyroid? So the aim here is not to critique the article as if I have some great insight that these people have missed. However, we are healthy reasoners. And as far as I can tell here, there's a lot that still needs to be discussed. I'm very delighted about this report, but it still misses a few key points. I'm hoping, I could only hope if I had a wish list, that they would not focus entirely on goiter, which I will agree, the elimination of goiter by this means was very innovative, ingenious, and obviously one of the major landmarks in preventive medicine. But if we fall into the trap of, again, just looking at goiter as our milestone for success, then we're going to miss all the other things that iodine deficiency comes with. And we may very well find that we diverted the avalanche elsewhere. So an avalanche is coming and you stop it, but it ends up somewhere else. You build a dam across a river and it prevents the river from damaging the town where it was going to damage, but then it diverts it to damage yet another town elsewhere. Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned because this is like the canary in the mine. This is the first little sign that, okay, this issue has now popped up on the radar again, and it's popped up in a way that has alerted the entire medical fraternity, certainly readers of this journal. So now we have to be a little bit more strategic in how we tackle this issue, certainly in my home country of Jamaica. And I'd love to, I'm probably going to look back at the overarching article I read to see what other articles have been published on this topic in other journals. Super fascinating. Super fascinating. And as we all move away from table salt and are advised to use Himalayan salt and sea salt, again, that's going to pose a problem because Himalayan salt and Celtic sea salt generally tend not to have any noteworthy amounts of iodine in them. So we are in for some drama if we don't talk this through some more. Healthy Reasoners, it's always a joy to be able to spend this time with you. I'm excited to see what we come up with here. Send me your questions, please. I think we're going to have a little break shortly. We're going to hear a little bit about how you can get in touch with me. Can you imagine? I've been sharing the WhatsApp number that you guys can send your messages to, and I've not been getting as many inquiries as I would have expected. But that will happen with time. I'm expecting that it will happen with time. And I am grateful for this family that we've created here. So let's pause for that quick message on how you can keep in touch with me. Then we're going to wrap up this article and we move on.
Healthy Reasoners. You asked and we listened. After enjoying today's episode, you can now send Dr. Andre your comments via WhatsApp. That's right, WhatsApp your comments or voice messages to us at 1-876-405-7831. In fact, take a moment to send us a WhatsApp right now. If it's really good, Dr. Andre will read it in the next episode. Once again, that's 1-876-405-7831. Send us your message now. We can't wait to hear from you.
And we're back. Right, so for the ladies listening in particular, how can I encourage you? Well, I'm going to make a shameless plug here because, as you know, I am a big advocate for something called breast thermography. It's infrared thermography. I think, as far as I know, we're the only, Teshuva Wellness is the only wellness center in Jamaica offering this service. And the reason why I'm an advocate for it is because I find that women find it to be an easier entry point to evaluating their breast health. And we can talk a little bit more about that. Probably we'll end up talking about it in a subsequent episode. I might just bring on somebody who is able to help me to talk about it in a lot more of a comprehensive manner. Until then, oh wow, this is a tough position to be in, because sounding the alarm is one thing, but seeing other people from the so-called conventional space also sounding the alarm changes the game, and it makes me wonder how many other things I need to be more vocal about. Anyway, Healthy Reasoners, thank you so much for your support, ongoing support. I'm happy I was able to do this episode today, and I'm looking forward to hearing your comments on it. If you're a lady who thinks you may be at risk for iodine deficiency, please see the show notes to find out how you can book an appointment to be evaluated. We do video appointments as well, So I'll be happy to talk with you. And certainly if you're a lady who thinks you may have iodine deficiency and you live in any of these WHO European region countries, 53 member states, then even more reason to get yourself evaluated by your physician, or if you want to reach out to me, that's okay. And we want to talk some more about this. Let's see where we end up. Bless you all and thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Healthy Reasonings podcast. Remember to subscribe to this podcast so you can be updated as soon as new episodes are ready. If you have a question, send us a voice note on WhatsApp or a WhatsApp message. The WhatsApp number is 1-876-405-7831. For more information or to become a sponsor, please email wellnessdocjamaica@gmail.com. See you soon.